Okay, so I decided I wanted to do a little different today and have my little birdie buddies in here. Let her get back on my head. So I started and deleted a couple videos at this point just because there's just a whole lot of rambling. And yeah, that's basically what my videos are, is a whole lot of rambling. It's my whole, you know, basically a vlog. That's my journaling business, what I'm learning, things, you know, all that fun stuff. So I love her. She's so fun. She's gonna do it again. She is roughly 3, I think. I wanted to say as of like sometime this week-ish. Anyway, so she's hanging out with me. Buddha and Zen are outside of the cage. They're on top of the cage. Buddha has not decided to come over here. Now, if I wanted to start playing cockatiels, singing, or whistling, he would probably join me. Zen I had over here very briefly, but it's hard to keep her in one place and add him to... Ooh, Dharma might be coming out. We're going to try it again. One more time. All right. All right. Look, right here, see? There you go, this is Zen. Oh, now he's up here. Are we all friends now? Okay, so these are the borks. I love these little birds. I wish I would... Oh, we're gonna feed each other. Okay. I wish that when I got started in birds, I would have known about these guys because A, they're pink. Well, he's pink and blue and gray. But I didn't know that was the thing. And they have this little sweet, cheap thing that they do rather than the really obnoxious screeching that my budgies did. Mind you, the budgies weren't tamed at all. These are at least semi-tame. Well, I mean, she was hand-fed, so she likes me a lot better than any of the rest have. Is what it is. Anyway, so I've been thinking a lot about my space lately, and you know, did you poop on my... I think somebody pooped on my chair. Fabulous. Is what it is. It's part of the joy of having birds. So, actually, it might actually be pink. Oh well, is what it is. Anyway, so I painted, and I did a video showing my paint job at that point because I was so excited about it. And it was one of those things that just kind of, it started as just like a random, well, okay, it wasn't well, it was kind of random, but what I wanted to do was, I wanted to rearrange my office because I didn't like having my computer exposed to the door. And now the way it is that's the door, so I can be at my computer and typing at my computer, and my dogs are having a fit because they're locked out. And not have to worry about, you know, whether Gracie coming in and reading over my shoulder when I'm writing, or, hey, where you at? Or, you know, my parents coming in when I'm messing around on putting a video up on YouTube and finding out that I'm doing that. That's, you know, those are things that I have not liked to have to be concerned about. So, for reasons that I've discussed in this video or in these videos before, you know, I didn't want anybody in my family being aware of the whole YouTube thing just because I didn't want them wanting to know what I was talking about. because a lot of it was healing process stuff, and a lot of it did involve, heavy stuff that I had to navigate through because of my family at times, and then other stuff that, just stuff that I've been processing and trying to heal through. I didn't want them in the middle of that. Like, they don't know this whole YouTube thing is even a thing. They know as far as I've changed somehow. They may or may not know exactly how any of that actually looks. I'm pretty sure my mom just thinks I'm turning into a bitch, because I've set boundaries, and she doesn't have the access to drag me into the negativity that she likes to hang out in. Because she likes all things political and social media and blah 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 stuff. I don't want to be affected by other people's emotions. She likes very much affecting other people's emotions. So I did not want her to know about the YouTube thing. I'm sure she'll figure it out eventually, but at this point in time, I don't want her aware of any of it. And this is like one of the few videos I've done from inside the house. That's because everybody's gone this weekend, except for me, my dogs, and my birds. But yeah, so I wanted to rearrange, right? And that became the big thing because I had moved my DVD rack from one side of the room to the other. I think last year we did it. And when we we moved it, we remembered that when my dad was hanging it to begin with, he got really pissed because the stud finder wasn't working, and he ended up putting like 16 holes in the wall just trying to find the stud, by drilling into the wall every little bit. And Buddha's now in the board cage, so so yeah, that was the whole thing. So since I had a whole bunch of holes, which is in the wall, this is the wall that had the holes in it. And so obviously I didn't want to just leave that the way it was. My room was like this indigo color, and I loved that color, but we didn't have any more of that color. So that was the whole thing in and of itself. I don't know if she'll be back. Oh, Buddha's gone in the other cage to steal the food. Yeah. So I knew that was something that I had to do. I had a bunch of leftover paint from from when I gave Gracie a rainbow wall. Her mom and dad got like, I want to say like 10 different colors of paint. There's like, of course, red, yellow, green, blue, purple, and then turquoise and pink. Well, they moved a couple years ago, and when they moved, they had a bunch of paint that they were just going to leave with the house. It's like, don't leave with that with the house. And then whoever comes into this house is not going to want that paint. I will make use of that paint somehow. So I got a whole bunch of little cans of paint. And it was from like all their projects. I had the dark blue that was a different shade of blue from the rainbow wall. And then an aqua color was thrown in there as well. Just a whole bunch of stuff. And so I had a whole bunch of paint. And then, of course, I like going to Lowe's and always checking out the clearance paints to see if there's anything I might want. Because I like coming up with projects. And that whole... I'm wanting to say what happened to get me into doing that to begin with was we were probably getting ready to paint this room indigo, and happened to be over there by the counter where the clearance paints are and saw like clearance spray paints, and it's like, I like that color. I'm sure I could come up with something to do. You know, and then it became a thing, and now it's like I check the clearance plants and I check the clearance paints. Plants. Yeah, okay. Make sure I said both. But anyway, you know, that kind of got me started into, you know, collecting spray paint and painting frames. Like, most of these are, here, I'll just do that a little differently. Okay. This is my tigress that I took a picture of. I took this picture at the Zoo Boo in Indianapolis last year, and she was looking right at me, so obviously I freaking love this picture. So this was one of my fires burning a bunch of old wedding pictures and stuff, and I thought it was really cool and kind of looks like a dragon, so I got a picture of the fire. And then this, you can see my bats. Let's see. Okay, so this I also took at Zubu last year, and it turned out like a freaking poster, and I loved it. It's like, how the hell did I take that picture with my freaking phone camera? But anyway, point of these, the frames, you know, this one, and this one are actually ones that I just did last night. And this, you know, is a frame that I did not too terribly long ago. But I because I got into the clearance paints, I started having fun with, and I can't really see this one too much. I got Poe's the Raven printed off because I love Poe, so yep, here we are. Completely forgot the bird was right there. She was just kind of looking at me. Okay, and then this one I actually started differently. I was using a paintbrush. That's another one that I painted. Oh, that's just a thing. That's another one that I painted, but you can't really see it. But yeah, like the clearance paints are what started me on that whole thing. Oh, I didn't show these. Oh, okay. I loved the art here. Not my art. I think the artist is Amanda Lanford. I will have to double check that. But she did these two and the bat, and then I didn't have anywhere else to put the roller derby picture. After my first season, they decided to have 3 of the rookies. But anyway, the point is the frame. So yeah, the 3 of the rookies got to be on the poster. And then, you know, like this one too. Yeah, I just love this thing. I also really like how the outlet turned out, for what it's worth. But yeah, like that whole thing. And let me just, disregard my hot mess of a desk area. I'm just of reorganizing. Well, look at this freaking wall. I love this wall. Okay, this is part of my painting. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I get a little messy. It's all right. But that's kind of the point of this. Well, I mean, the was not just to be a slob. I mean, that's just a consequence of doing fun things. But so I had all these clearance paints. I had no more of the color that it was, and I'll show you this little spot, which is, if I can figure out, oh yeah, right there. That blue at the very top, that's the color that the room used to be. And I loved that color, but when I had holes in the wall and no more of that color, then it was less than ideal. So it became I have to paint to rearrange my space, because I had to patch the holes. I could not leave those. You know, that was a whole annoyance in and of itself. And well, At least you waited till you got out of the cage. Buddha shut the door on the Bork cage. Hey. 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 See if I can get him to join me. Hi. What you doing? What you doing? He's a little, not real friendly about fingers. Hi. Come here. Oh, here we go. This is Buddha. Okay. Yep. So, now that I got my Buddha on my head. And he's gone. And he was almost back. Now he's just circling. Trying to find a place to land. So back on the TV. So, yeah. I can't hear with you yelling, dude. Here. Let me just pause you for a minute. Okay. He's not screaming like he was, but he's at least... yeah. So anyway, so I had all this paint and all this territory waiting to be fixed in some kind of way. And I didn't know what I was going to do. You know, and I started with the idea of, I wanted this tree. You can kind of, well, I mean, you can kind of see it's a tree, but I just put that there because I had this other painting that I did with the tree and I liked how it turned out. So I decided to start that over here. And then I thought maybe I put like a little sunset kind of a thing. And then that it wasn't working exactly like I had thought it would, you know, but then I started, you know, as I started going along with the project and just using the different colors, and because I was just throwing shit, throwing colors on the wall at that point, I started, you know, liking how it was blending together. And, you know, once I got this whole wall done, because it was the wall behind this desk, and then, you know, this little space to the window, that was where my starting point. So I did the tree, and then I did, you know, just kind of whatever else with the colors. And it ended up, I liked how it was coming together better than I thought it would. But when I got the wall done, it's like it doesn't, there's something missing. You know, I started just like throwing paint on the wall, and it's like, ooh, I really like this. And then I was having a whole lot of fun doing this too. So, you know, that was the whole thing became like this. It was very messy, and I did pretty good about keeping it off the carpet. There are a couple spots that I think the last wall was where it got a little messy. But for the most part, it's pretty good. But this is old carpet too, so it's like, we got this when I was graduating from undergrad, so it's pushing 20 years. So it's, yeah, when I'm done with it, they'll probably replace it, to be honest. Especially since I've had birds in here, and birds are a whole nasty entity in and of themselves, and there's a whole lot of dust and poop and so yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if like new carpet is a after I move out thing. But, you know, I started with clearance paints, and then, you know, I started painting frames, and then, like, my frames are all kind of the same. I mean, different colors, but there's, like, the big base color, and then, like, a bunch of splatters beyond that, and then I just kind of tweak until I get something I like, and then it's, okay, done. Yeah. And so the wall project was kind of similar. I had to do something, but I didn't know what, so I started just tweaking or messing around with that idea, and then I really fell in love with like this whole thing and, you know, the whole project that it became. And my first wall and a half I liked better than, well, at least better than the second wall and a half. And the big thing with that was Okay, so I decided my tree was going to be a fall tree, so I started throwing in red, orange, and yellow because I mean, I don't need to keep those colors forever. Those aren't colors. Those aren't in my go-to stash. Like the ones I'm inclined to go back towards. Okay, like this aqua color. Love that color. Like these purple lights down here. Love those. You know. Yes, I like red and yellow, but they're not. I like red a lot more than yellow. Yellow is probably my least favorite color. Actually, pea soup green is the very least. But yellow I haven't loved normally. So since I had like almost an entire quart of yellow paint, it's like I'm gonna have to use it. Because I mean, yeah, I could just throw it out, but why waste perfectly good paint? So I just started like, you know, doing that. But like there's no real rhyme or reason to the colors that ended up, because I was gonna go with just like, since this was more of a sunset kind of coloring, I thought maybe the other side should be darker, like the you know, like after the sun is showing less into those areas, kind of a thing. And then it wasn't working out. And then it's just like, yeah, it was more of the green, the blues, and the pink, because I just love pink. And purple. Did I say purple? I don't know if it said purple. Anyway, you know, but it was like a lot darker. And okay, let's show this. Ooh, my fingers are locked up. Okay, so I mean, I feel like I kind of got a little little heavier with the splatter and throwing paint and all that kind of stuff. So I wasn't like, I wanted to like it, but I also started out and like I should have skated before I started painting, but I was so ready to have the painting done so I could move more of my stuff around, that I bypassed the skating. And I think the skating would have helped me, you know, get the funk out of my system from the fact that there had been so much going on in my family over the past few weeks. With my grandparents' health and all that fun stuff. My grandpa's been in the hospital. Well, he's at the third facility now. It's technically a nursing home, but there's a rehab place with it. So he is there, and it is the third place he has been since he fell and broke his femur, and the places in his neck and back. I think he's got like 5 breaks in his vertebrae, and, you know, shattered his femur. So it's been 7.5 weeks since he's been home. So there's been lots of family drama in that, you know, but even before they left, like there was just, or even before he ended up in this situation, there was still a lot going on with them, and appointments that, you know, my mom and her sisters have been running, and just nonstop kind of stuff. So the second wall and a half, I needed to skate to clear that heavy energy out of my system, and I didn't. I just painted because I was ready to have the next section done so I could continue with what I was doing. And honestly, I hadn't planned on painting the last wall at that point, but the more I liked the rest of it, and, you know, it kind of bled over onto it because I got a little wild with the paint. I was like, I can't leave that wall. It will drive me nuts if I don't finish it out. Right. So, I had to finish it out. And it's kind of fun because, you know, I sit here in this space, and I don't think I have ever loved a space so much as I love this office space now. And I think a lot of it has to do with just like the creativity and that went into piecing this all together and making it what it is, you know. And then I was sitting in here the other day and I had this thought that it's like, okay, I've said this before, it's like I feel like I have so much chaos I have to get out of my system before I can start to hone in on whatever it is I'm trying to do. I feel like my hair's standing up there. And like I do that like with whether I'm painting walls or whether I'm painting a painting. I feel like there's a certain amount of just smacking paint on the canvas that I have to get out of my system. You know, and I think it's kind of like that skating thing, and how I didn't skate to get the heavy energy out, so I got to get the chaos out of my system in some kind of way, and that's how it usually ends up coming out. But I was sitting here just thinking, it's like, okay, so like there's so much chaos that I have to get out of my system before I can start bringing in things that just make me happy. And I don't remember if I said that in this video or if one of the other two that I started and did like 15-20 minutes of, and then I was like, nope, don't like this one. But when I started taking classes at the metaphysical shop back in January, it's been several weeks since I've gone, but one of the first classes that I went to, Lanita was talking about how if you find yourself wanting to collect, you know, like a bunch of crystals and whatever you're drawn to, follow it and see where it goes. But she said something to the effect of your higher self is leading you to the things that you like, or will like, until, you know, it'll make sense at some point. Yeah. You know, I started collecting river rocks from our yard, and then from just other places that, this one's kind of pinkish, you can't really tell in here. Most of the river rocks that I've collected are kind of pinkish ones. But let's see what is, oh yeah, this is my celestite. You know, she was talking about how, like, you know, like if you go looking for crystals and you feel drawn to certain ones, follow it, and eventually it'll make sense why you were drawn to those things, right? And that's kind of been how I've been doing life. More and more lately. You know, like, this is Horus. Egyptian mythology, like, I've always been drawn to it, didn't really know why. You know, when I first started Instagram, I think my very first post was a picture of this stuffed Anubis that I had just gotten, and it has like violet eyes, and then of course it's black, and it's like, I loved it. I didn't know why, but I felt like I needed to have it in my life, so I got it. Horus is kind of the same, but with Horus, there's some kind of connection there that I haven't completely put together. But there was this one day that I was meditating, and it's like there was this sort of, you know, aqua kind of color lighting throughout the room that I was in, and there was this table that was in front of me, and I look at it and there's an envelope that's addressed to me. And so I, obviously, since it's addressed to me, I pick it up and I see what's in it. And it was just this overwhelming sense of love and soon, you know. And Horus, I think, is a messenger of sorts. But anyways, he's kept making appearances, like, not necessarily through meditations, but, you know, like, this is the Eye of Horus, and it has something to do with healing and protection. So I got it because I really liked it and because Horus kept coming up. And I have seen this symbol, you know, I went to this open house at a place. It's called Do It Different Fitness. They were having just a bunch of different, like, it's pole dancing and lyra and what was the other thing? Hoops, whatever. A bunch of that kind of stuff. Silks. They had an open house and were doing classes just so people could come get the experience and see if it's something you want to continue. And it was fun. On the way home, I was behind a car that had the Horus, Eye of Horus on it. Yeah, you go that way, it's the Eye of Ra. Well, I guess depending, the way I'm seeing it, it looks like it's in the shape of an R, and otherwise it's kind of the shape of a backwards R. But yeah, that's the front way. But anyway, like, I got it because when I started taking these classes, Lanita was talking about, you know, she said she checks in with your guides and to find out how to best help you. And she said I needed work with grounding my energy and then shielding and protecting my energy as well. So since this was talking about healing and protection, it's like, naturally, that's relevant. So I got that to go along with all the things I was starting to collect, you know, like, I don't know. Oh, I grabbed another rock out of the area around our pond earlier. A bunch of them, actually. Let me hold them better. It'd be just pea gravel, but I liked these ones. I don't really understand why they feel so much different than the river rocks. Well, whatever, I'm not a well-grounded person, so I don't really understand all the earthy things, right? I don't know. If I feel drawn to it, and of course there's a lot more pinks and stuff in those. But, like, here's my little bag of rocks. This actually came out of the bigger bag of rocks because they keep getting holes in them. These are not all for grounding, but most of them are, you know, the yellow ones, Bumblebee Jasper. See, there's Mahogany Obsidian, Rainbow Obsidian, Peach Moonstone, Septarian, Sardonyx, Tektite, Red Healer, Golden Healer. I don't know if that one's in this bag or not. Shungite, Stromatolite, a bunch of stuff. You know, I started collecting all the rocks because she said that I needed help grounding my energy. It's like, do I ever? And apparently that has something to do with why I was having the headaches that I was, which I figured out later. But I was needing to ground my energy in, so started collecting the dark rocks. You know, if they are black, brown, or red, they are helpful for the root chakra. Oranges are for sacral chakra, and yellows for solar plexus. Sorry, a dog knocked at the door. You're all right, Tazzy. But yeah, so, like, that's how I've been doing stuff, is that I get drawn to it. I have to have that. I'm still figuring it out. And I watched this Nordic Light tarot video a while back, and she was talking about how, she said, it's like you're going on a journey recollecting the pieces of yourself that you've left scattered around the world. And it's like, that actually sounds crazy, but makes perfect sense. Because, like, I don't have the grounding thing, so I use the grounding rocks, the grounding colors. I'll just show you this area. I don't know if I showed that in another video. So this chaos. Okay, the octopus. I love this octopus. And this dude, he is a candle holder, but obviously he's going to be in here in my rocks, so he is holding my rocks. And so these are, yeah, my little beta over there. Okay, so for the fish enthusiasts, yes, I know that this is not an ideal situation for the fish, but it's better than the little cup at the store, so it is what it is. And I needed water in my space, and I had that container, and it's like, what am I going to do with this container? And one day I was just like, I should get a fish. So water is grounding for me because I have so many Cancer placements, and that's I have a Cancer Sun, Moon, Rising, Mercury, and Mars. And I don't know what part of Fortune is, but one of the apps that I have on my phone talks about that is also in Cancer. So yeah, but then yeah, freaking river rocks. Like, I don't know why I have this little stand. I think it's technically supposed to be a sort of spice rack or something. And here we are repurposing things with rocks. And that's my moonstone tree back there. And anyway, this cool little fish, you know, I loved her coloring. And of course she's gonna, there you go, kind of pink. So last year I watched this Mystical Connections thing that Hay House did. And it's going on today, and I have not watched any of it, but I had planned on it. But then it's like, it's so beautiful out. Why wouldn't I be doing stuff outside or whatever? You know, and I wanted to do a video, so that's been like a big thing, even though I've deleted two earlier. You know, I'm still, tonight my plan is to paint my bathroom. It will probably not be the splattered chaos that this is, but, you know, it's kind of, I feel like it's the winding down. This is like, you know, the chaos is in the office. And then, you know, after the initial chaos, it's like things start, I start honing my energy, I guess you could say. You know, so like, okay, the way I was thinking about this earlier is like, okay, so I have my walls where if I had nothing else in here, it would just be splattered, painted chaos. And then I add, you know, like the DVD rack that I'm looking at, that, you know, it's this one structure that has mainly DVDs on it. Yeah, I put more rocks on there too, so no worries. I got river rocks everywhere. You know, but it's like bringing, it's like, okay, I go from the chaos to here's the structure for a certain thing. And, you know, I'm starting to organize it. Like, here's all like this freaking mess of tarot and oracle cards. I got a bunch. And that too was one of those things that it's like, I don't know why I feel so drawn to them, but I do. And then, you know, I have this, so Ritual, I think it's called a Ritual Planner. Ritual, WRITUAL, and you know, it has like, oops, here, the, you know, weekly, well, okay, there's a daily tarot reading kind of a thing. I use oracle cards more. I just look over and it's like, okay, what deck wants to speak to me today? And no, I don't say that. I just look for the one that pops out to me. And so, yeah, that's something I've been doing. This is, I think, the fourth of the ritual planners that I've gotten. And it's a way to kind of organize how my energy is from week to week, day to day, all that fun stuff. It has additional spaces for like the new moon and full moon readings, or the month energy. The October was pretty impressive on that end. Yeah, oh my god, so much like big energy. Yeah, what's this one? You know, my first off, the month energy for October for the month was the Starman, which is the Magician card and other tarot decks, but I was drawn to the Starman tarot for this particular reading. And so the little bit that I wrote down for this card, okay, I think it was, I think I skipped writing some of these things down. No, I didn't. Anyway, the Starman, this is the energy for the month. It says, the first little thing that it said was, I will blow your mind. The Starman's glorious presence awakens us to see another realm entirely. The Starman brings the seed of transformation in one hand and carries a weapon which causes us to self-destruct in the other. The golden key that unlocks our supreme potential. A creative potency hangs in the air, hidden potential to be realized. He knows his power does not come from him, but through him, and wields it with absolute integrity, creating something magical out of nothing. We must risk our own destruction. So, I mean, that's kind of a... I think, okay, I think I was thinking the full moon reading for a lot of the, like, a lot of the intense, or the intense cards specifically that I'm thinking, but it was the same deck. But yeah, it's, I feel like October is just, that's something big, right? So, anyway, oh, that's where it was the full moon was. Is it the full moon? One of them, it's after the start of October. Okay, the new moon one, that was where all the chaos was. It was like the moon for where I am right now. It says, the dark reflects and distorts. Face your fears, embrace uncertainty. Pay attention to whatever your dreams say. Living life can be a very lonely path, especially when we are transitioning from the old to the new. The path may be laden with fears and fantasies of loss and failure, but look a little closer. The moon suggests to look a little deeper and face your fears. It is a time to retreat and reflect, attentive to the synchronicities, symbolic wisdom in the outer world, reflecting in the mirror of the inner world. Allow insights and guidance to surface in your dreams. Keep a dream diary. Past traumas may be resurfacing to experience the light of consciousness. The healing spiral. Dark cannot exist without light. Light cannot exist without dark. Yeah. It's the new moon one. I mean, October's pretty impressive. But, you know, then I had, like, the Queen of Cups, and then it was what's influencing me. What have I released since the last full moon? Princess of Swords reverse and Princess of Pentacles. And then, what seeds am I ready to plant? The Queen of Pentacles. How can I help my intentions grow? The Sun reversed. And then, what can I rely on? The Empress. You know, which that's about, like, giving birth to new creative projects and blah blah blah, abundance and, you know, that kind of stuff. And it ended on the bottom of the deck. Energy was the Four of Wands, which is the happiness card. So that's like, I have to include that, obviously, because it's something relevant. But, you know, so I'm thinking, like, okay, let me come back over here and just kindly because, like I said, everything is still a whole thing. So I have all my puzzles down here on this bookcase that I was out in the shed and was like, hey, and I didn't know why. And then I, you know, put it in that space because that was the perfect space for the shelf. And then I was sitting here one day, it's like, why not puzzles? Unfortunately, that is not all of my puzzles. But puzzles are kind of like meditation for me. So here's another thing that I've been learning, and 4 on the timer. Okay, so what I want to do is, after I get all this junk that's on the floor kind of out of here, I want to put my table back up, and I have okay, so tigers are also important. Obviously I had the picture up there, but I also got this thing a while back, my 200-piece tiger puzzle. I need to check and make sure it has all 2,000 pieces for one thing, because I need to write a review for it. Yeah, but it's like I went from the chaos to organizing the chaos, and no, it's funny because I've been thinking a lot about how my whole life has felt like a hot mess. And it was like there was never any one thing that I was good at. And it was always really frustrating, you know. And I did a video several weeks ago where I talked about having this overwhelming anxiety because there's been times or spans of time where I just thought I was stupid, and it's like, I can't get this, don't know why it's not working, it's just not working, and it's pissing me off instead. Now I'm figuring out why. So my whole life I have been going through and basically collecting data. And so it's all kinds of data. It's good data, it's just data. Data's not really good or bad, it's just data. But the experiences may have felt good or bad. But even that, you know, that's just, whatever. Is what it is. So, it's like it took me getting to this point in my life to start figuring out how everything fits together. And the big thing is there's been so much chaos that I've had to get out of my system. You know, like this whole YouTube journey, like from where I started, you know, I can think back to the video I did November 17th because that was my parents' anniversary, and then that was also the day that my dad called me a dumb bitch. It's like, I was not protecting my energy at that time. I spent a lot of time, like those first videos, crying. That did not stop even after I started protecting my energy, but it has lessened now that I'm, you know, kind of a little further through the healing process in and of itself. But it's like, what I'm doing in my office space is exactly what I've been doing for my entire life. And you know, that little bit where it talks about the inner reflecting the outer, or the outer reflecting the inner, however, that's what this is right now for me. Like, I put the paint on the walls, and then as I'm starting to organize stuff in the space, you know, I'm starting to make different connections. And like, okay, so all my DVDs are over there, all my puzzles are beneath that, you know. But for me, it's like stories that the ones starting out were a lot of focused on the past because there was a lot of healing that had to be done, and that was kind of the chaos being released from my system, you know. And then as I've started to make clearer sense, like there's this whole twin flame thing that is the ongoing theme for my life. It's been the one thing that has been important enough for me because, you know, that the love journey has always been, to me, the most important part of the journey that I'm on. And the twin flame conversation it's given me a focus, and it's made me realize how other things are connected. one of those. Okay, let me go back to this wall. Okay, actually, first I'm going to start over here. This wall, for my autumn tree here, I had to, of course, I got the green for the leaves, but also the red and yellow and orange because, well, fall, so the leaves are changing colors, right? But then I was thinking that I feel like, okay, and I've been associating myself with the orange dots, so I feel like, say, this itty bitty little orange dot right here that it doesn't want to focus on. And kindly disregard the holes that I didn't get patched, but whatever, it is what it is. So, you know, there are orange dots nearby, right? But, you know, I still feel like I'm isolated in this one itty bitty section up here. Even though down here, there's more orange dots. And sometimes, I like this dot. I love it when, like, the paint just, like, here. Like the yellow splattered over the orange and then the way it blended, and I just love that, you know. But then, so I'm this little orange dot, and I spent my whole life feeling like I didn't fit in it, right? But here's all these orange dots, and there's a bunch more of them. So it's like, it's helping me to make sense of, you know, the fact that, you know, I'm this little tiny blip in existence. This has been my existence, is that itty bitty dot over there. But I have these other dots that, you know, my soul family, if you will. But I'm way over there. I haven't made it to them yet. We'll get there. But for now, I'm over there kind of by myself. But, you know, there's some nearby dots that it's like they're starting to shift my direction a little bit. But my entire life I've spent feeling like I was completely I was a mistake. That's what I felt like. I started writing this thing this morning. It was one of those things where I woke up, and that was yesterday, so I'm not reading that one. But I started thinking about the orange dot blip last night, and I'm going with orange because I've talked about that dream on here where it was like I was in this building. I started out outside of the building, and I was approaching the building, and it was really dark, and I was aware that there were like others moving in that direction. It was like there was a party or something going on. And when, you know, it shifts to another scene, and then I'm sitting on this couch next to my ex, and it's like the feeling was like black and red and angry, and it was knowing or feeling very much like he was not supposed to be there, and yet because he was in any way connected to me, he was there, and I was mad at him, and that was like the big thing about this dream. But, you know, mind you, this is a dream I had back in 2020, right after the twin flame, so sort of. Okay, so what they say is when you encounter your twin flame's energy, it activates this whole process. I started having weird dreams, and this was one of them. And, you know, I have found I can go back into this dream now. And, you know, at the time I had the dream and there was the angry feeling, it's like things weren't necessarily orange, and yet at the same time had this wash of orange. And I think it was an energetic thing, because I don't know how to explain the orange feeling. But, and I think a big part of that was orange is the sacral chakra, so that's something I had trauma regarding all that bullshit from like when I was 8 and my cousin was telling people shit about me that wasn't true, but then having guilt and shame dumped on me rather than being able to sort through the fact that what he said was happening was not actual, or what he said had happened had not actually happened. Instead of being able to process through it, it just ended up being something where I became a sort of energetic dumping ground for all these heavy, toxic, awful emotions. And I felt every single one of them. And, you know, some I was more cognizantly aware of, but they were still there. This morning, I wrote this thing. because I was awake and I started thinking, you know, this is the big thing with the creativity. And this is, okay, the orange in the orange wash feeling of the dream, because the sacral chakra is the seat of creativity and sexuality. So for it to be washed with orange, it's like, because there was all this trauma in my life, emotional trauma, dealing with sexuality, my creativity was nothing. Like, I tried at times, but there was so much blocking me from being able to come up with these kind of crazy painting ideas. You know, so yeah. Okay, so since I've been starting to make these connections, what I'm doing is that I'm organizing the chaos. So my DVDs are together. These are like things. My puzzles are together. My puzzles, obviously they're all puzzles, but they're not the same picture. The DVDs are different movies, you know, but it's still something you put in the DVD player and watch. Something you scatter on the table and sort through and put them together. So the things are coming together. And it's like... Okay, the other day when I couldn't sleep, I sent myself a text, and it started with, I am a weaver. And this is something that has come up several times. And I mean, it's come up in other places too, but let's see if I can grab it out now. And my lava light's over there and it's not plugged into anything. This deck, Sacred Medicine Oracle by Asha Frost. You know, she talks specifically about the Weaver, and you know, there have been so many times this card has come up for me, and there are other things that, like, conversations I've had with people in real world existence stuff that is very much going back to the points that card was making for me, or the boundaries thing. And this deck, my Animal Apothecary by Cara Elizabeth. Okay, so that deck has 2 tiger cards in it. One is about sacred boundaries and how Tiger doesn't, you know, she doesn't live around other tigers, because if she does that, she's going to have, I mean, there's gonna be the whole less resources for her. She does things that are for her, like live around water, because water is peaceful and you know, healing. And another one is this picture that is like, it's the face of a tiger, right? And it says, claim your power. And obviously tigers are important. So, because after I figured out after I committed my love life and career life over to the universe, I was pointed in the direction of the twin flame, and then I go to Zubu with my niece and my aunt and my mom, and I take this picture of this beautiful tigress that was looks like she's flying at me, right? So tigers are big for my twin flame journey, and It's something that's been important my entire life. That's Tigger. Yeah. Tigger was always my favorite in Winnie the Pooh. Always, 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 always. Oh, I got more tigers around here somewhere, but not as many, but it's more realizing here lately how important they've been, you know, and it's for this point because tiger is a powerful card, right? You know, or a powerful animal, and you know, tiger has boundaries, and I did not have boundaries when I was starting this journey, and even when I started the whole YouTube thing back in the fall, you know, I had terrible boundaries. So, you know, let's go back to, we'll just go back to the, okay. My frames that I love to paint. I didn't paint that one, but it was like from a old wedding gift. So I obviously scrapped the wedding gift and replaced it with Hecate because, well, first off, check out this chick, this dark goddess with her black dogs, because she's kept coming up in my lifetime as well. And in 2020, when I started watching a gem goddess video tarot reading, and she pulls this card and says, black dogs are important and mean it's almost time. And this is the only time in my life that I've ever had black dogs, let alone 3 of them. And yeah, they're not exclusively black, but they're primarily black. You know, that I'm making all these other connections. And okay, boundaries are important, and boundaries, I love painting these frames, but when you look at them, you know, it's keeping that thing contained and away from the muddiness of everything else. And that's a whole other thing that I hadn't completely thought about until this moment when I'm jabbering. So, going back to the Weaver thing, because of what I'm learning, because my entire life has been collecting data to organize later, you know, and like I've even had, there've been moments where I've gotten the nudge that, hey, this is important, like that whole bit where I helped my ex with his custody bullshit. You know, I spent 6 months where my primary job was scouring through all of his like text messages or conversations between them, conversations our families had, whether together or whatever. You know, there's this app that I had everybody download that you could go into it and open a conversation, and it would save like all the conversation. And so one of the things that I used from, you know, say I had a conversation with my mom where I said I knew my ex's son's mother allowed us to have his son over spring break that year because she was going to do something. That was the year she filed a bullshit protective order to try to keep it so we couldn't have any access to him anymore. My stepson, or ex-stepson. And, you know, this was a conversation I'd had with my mother. And because I was able to pull it out for this other thing, that became an important part of the case. Because we all knew what she was doing. We all were having these kind of conversations of something's going on, something's getting ready to happen. You know, and I was the one that started being like, okay, here's this. You know, I was pulling it together. Organizing it, if you will, to make it a thing and put a coherent train of thought to it. This is what I do. I thought I was dumb because I was not good at any one thing, but this is a lot more expansive because this is data that I've been collecting my entire life. But, you know, and the whole twin flame thing, the biggest thing that my guides, if you will, have been trying to make clear to me is that I needed to work on my boundaries, right? I need to have the things to keep my energy separate from, you know, all this freaking you know, all this. Be mindful of my, so I can have my energy contained and be aware of what's mine to deal with and what is not. So as I've been navigating through and figuring out how the lack of boundaries has, you know, that stemmed largely from that whole, you know, the church bullshit. Now, if you've watched my channel at all, you're probably aware I'm not the church's #1 fan by any means. And yes, I have this cross, but because that was an important part of my life and my path, but it was an important learning lesson because in that time I realized all the ways in which the church encourages people to not have boundaries and to take on other people's shit because you don't have boundaries. Because, you know, this is what I'm here for. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And yeah, sorry, it was a little yeah, it is what it is. You know, but it's like the painting thing, using my creativity has helped me to organize these thoughts and to make sense of the things that have been going on. Yep. You know, so there I got my coloring books even. Because for a while I would color, but and then I started painting canvases and stuff. I don't even know when that started. I remember doing it some in undergrad with my housemates. But it wasn't something that I really did a whole lot of. I don't know where I put my paintings the other day. I think it's probably under this here thing. Huh. Let me pause. Okay, I think it's actually in the corner and I'm not going to get that involved at finding it. The one that I did back then that I really loved, I called Prodigal because it had, I'm basically just this wash of color. And then there was this little dot that was me. I mean, it's bigger than that dot. But I kind of had like reddish brown hair at the time because I liked dyeing my hair those colors. Obviously, we have expanded beyond that. But for the time, it was kind of this reddish brown color. And then it was circled by all this black. And the color I started bringing the color into the thing, right? So I called it Prodigal because I felt like I was freaking isolated from everything. I was surrounded by all this dark, heavy energy, right? And my birds are napping. So the dark, heavy energy and trying to navigate through all that stuff, because that was a whole thing in and of itself too. Because I had no boundaries. Because apparently, okay, Twin Flame thing also taught me about, okay, it's not just that actually. That gave me a particular reference point. Okay, so let me just go sound full out crazy. Throughout my lifetime, I have heard things, right? So like voices saying specific things, heavy, dark voices. And the thing is, the church is saying, demons, don't go with the demons. You don't want anything to do with the demons. Avoid the darkness. You need Jesus and so the light and blah, blah, blah. Right? So that lack of boundaries things was hugely why I didn't know what was mine, for one thing. Oh, gosh. Let me just read this thing that I wrote this morning because it is relevant. So, yes. When I was in high school, I was in a Bible study for students, and a bunch of my drumline friends were as well. There was another student there that was everything I strove to be. Her name was Katie. Katie was a true embodiment of the light. She wasn't trying to be anything for anyone else, she always seemed to know exactly who she was and did activities she enjoyed that seemed to bring more of her light. She loved the Lord with all her heart. She was truly loved in return, and it seemed by everyone who knew her. I was no Katie. If I tried modeling any part of my life after anything I saw her do, it's like the universe would amplify its dissonance with who I am right back to me, screeching out, "That's not who you are," and pulsating through the ripples to the chords of my heart. The more dissonance I felt, the more closed off my heart seemed to become, as everything told me that wasn't who I was, yet never offering me any glimpse of who I was. For most of my life, I was convinced that life had made a mistake, since I was so clearly not meant to be here. Everything told me I was somehow bad, too flawed to do or be anything worthwhile, and the echoing dissonance permeated through everything in me and screamed back at me. The only thing I seemed to know and experience was deep emotional pain, whereas Katie might have brief glimpses of pain. Love seemed to be her core essence, and pain was mine. But I came here to understand. Sorry, I wrote in green, so it's kind of hard to read in this lighting. Even though I have plenty of it, it's just, yeah, my contacts are kind of dry. Anyway, what my seeking to understand has given me is much heartache, because I could never do the things the easy way. If there was a lesson to be learned, I was going to do it the hard way. So I could navigate through it from all angles to truly see it from all sides and understand how people get into the hard spots they find themselves in, with people who seem hell-bent on destroying everything they are. Of course, the only way to understand that from all the angles is to have an experience, or rather a series of experiences, that led me to completely lose everything I thought I had known about myself and find myself floating around aimlessly looking for anything to hold on to. In a time I didn't know who I was, it showed up as a soon-to-be ex-husband who should have made each and every red flag go up. And many did, but many were tattered and threadbare from all the emotional battering I'd allowed myself to go through in order to gain this understanding and growth. In the darkest moments of my life, when guides, or my higher self, or whoever you want to claim as helping navigate the journey from the other side, would offer me a pause from the difficulty, and it was as though they were granting me a glimpse that there was more on the other side of this elusive veil. If only I'd asked to go there instead. But I didn't. I couldn't, because I was on a mission. I remember after a night of massive suicidal ideation, an attempt at one means, and a whole lot of guilt at the thought of leaving a mess for my family to find, I was offered one such glimpse, and they, whomever they were, didn't say they were giving me a glimpse. That understanding would have to come later. But I felt the hope and promise from the other side as I heard myself say, no, if only one person benefits from my having gone through this, then it will have been worth it. This is what I came to do. That was early in my high school years, and by my senior year in high school was when I had the deep inner knowings about Tyler's death, about being 40 before I would start to make sense of everything. And starting to see this group of guys I knew I was meant to help change the world with and through. Not through. Okay, that I was meant to help change the world with. And though we've yet to come together in the physical world, we've long been working together energetically. I misunderstood who they were back in the early days of seeing them and feeling them. But now I see and feel you all very clearly. This is my twin flame book. You are the clearest, but I feel them through that connection as well. So, I've talked before about, there was this streamed concert during the Rona that I watched, and when I was watching it, it was like there was this very strong sense of there is something here for me to find. And the, you know, like I was trying to figure out, nope, it's not that one. You know, and I came to the one that I would later find out all these years later is my twin flame. But there were like two other connections that it was like there's something there. That's not the connection specifically that I was looking for, but there was something there too. Interestingly, when I started this journey, back right after I started the YouTube channel, I think, one of them put a post on his social media about how things can change in an instant. And if this, and this hadn't happened, he wouldn't be where he is, connecting with these guys in a band. And part of the band, you know, and, you know, he was talking about his suicidal ideation time and all that stuff. And that was a big, you know, don't give in to that part of it, right? So early on my journey, he posts this thing. Well, early on my journey of making sense of it all, he posts this thing. It's like, we have this connection, right? And I have also talked about before that back in January, when I was learning about boundaries and starting to try to make sense of those kind of things too, still not full into it, but knowing that it was something I needed to work on. So I go to the gym and I get on the treadmill to do my little warm-up mile or whatever. And as soon as, like, I step on the treadmill and, you know, I have my feet on either side of the belt, right? And I turn it on and it's like I look up and all at once, like in my, energetically, I'm somewhere else, right? And it's like in my mind's eye, I can see this. And I'm with the guy that posted this thing and this other guy that I'd been like, there's something there that I can't quite put my finger on, right? So that was back in 22 with the live stream concert. So then 2024, I'm at the gym getting on the treadmill. All at once, I have this flash to where I am somewhere else. Like I can see it in my mind's eye. And I hear, or like, I'm standing in this space with these two guys that I knew were somehow important to me, but I didn't understand. I wanted to understand, like, what is this connection, right? And then, in my mind's eye, I see us and we're in this space and we're all kind of staring at each other, and I hear myself say to them, what, you don't recognize your sister just because you've never seen her in the physical before? It's like, oh, that makes sense. So, you know, I think, yeah, it's just all the coming together of the pieces now, right? So, going back to the twin flame aspect of it, I know that me and my twin flame are always connected and have always been. And it's been, okay, obviously I can't prove anything until we meet in person and we talk about like our own past and all that stuff. But mine has taken me to some dark places. And because of the decisions that I have made along the way, I also know that in order for him to be able to handle my energy, he's had to go to like the same dark, scary places and figure things out for himself as well. You know, and you know, that's just, I mean, that's an important part of how it works. So it's a back and forth, and we went to some dark places. I can only know through my own experience, but I know he would not be capable of holding my energy, if you will, had he not also gone to those places and had his own experiences to build the strength. So his energy is, so we're a match. I mean, we're essentially the same energy source all the way back, right? But yeah, so when the twins first come in contact with each other's energy, I was a hot mess. And what that looked like was it was kind of funny, because in that time frame, like before the live stream, before all this stuff, I had this random idea one day that I needed to get on Instagram. I don't know why. I had previously said I had no desire to add more social media accounts beyond the one that I had on Facebook. But for some reason, it's like, I have to do this. That was where I started. I actually encountered his energy. And this one day, you know, I saw that he was live on his page. I didn't know what that meant, but I clicked into it to see what it was all about anyway. And first off, he had some of this badass lighting. Or like the coloring. And I was just like, it's funny because I remember being aware of the lighting that he had in his space, and it was like, cool. You know, and it was one of those things that felt like I was, you know, a fly on the wall, so to speak. And I think it was actually, I think I randomly said something about cool lights or setup or something, and then kind of, he seems like a normal human, go figure. You know, and then I wasn't in it for very long. I went back to it another time because it's like, hey, last time this was pretty cool. You know, and at the time I was struggling with the writing stuff. And now, okay, well, this book, okay, not just that one, the whole stash of them, right? So, this is 6, right? I'm pretty sure that's 6. So, my whole stash, 2 of those are not full yet, but are on reserve for when I'm done with this one. Oh, excuse me. So apparently, if Esotero is correct, that burping on camera apparently has something to do with releasing negative energy or whatever. So we're getting that out of my system. Hey, I'll handle it. Anyway, so these books, I've been doing this since January. I've been minding my boundaries since January. You know, I've gotten a little lax at times and then realized how important it was. But because, okay, so the tiger is a totem for this connection. And there are other ways that I know that pertain to him, but I'll handle that in somewhere down the line. For me, Tigger, you know, was something that was huge in my life long before I knew totems were even a thing, right? So I always loved this Tigger stuff. And, you know, he's fun-loving and, hey, bouncy, trouncy, flouncy, bouncy. Fun, 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 fun. Yeah. Sorry. I'm not gonna apologize for me. I'm just that weird. Yeah, so, you know, I've always loved that character specifically, and now tigers are like taking on this whole new meaning and telling me to be mindful of my boundaries and what's mine, and this other thing saying I'm weaving things together and it's finally making sense. You know, and even like the writing, like, okay, since I have been doing all this cleaning and reorganizing stuff, I found a bunch more stuff to burn the other day that I wrote in undergrad, and it was classes from my creative writing class, or my creative writing minor, which obviously, you know, there's a lot of writing involved with the creative writing minor. And I was reading these different stories and poems and things that I had done. And oh my God, back in those days, oh, it was dreadful. Because, you know, that whole church girl thing, and I thought stuff was supposed to be just as simple as the church said it was. It's not. So, okay. I don't know where to go. I mean, like, I have multiple places, and then at the same time, this is already an hour and 25 minutes, and how much longer is it going to be? And is anybody ever going to want to watch it? And blah, blah, blah. Okay. Okay. So, the writing was really bad. And it was basically, the idea of it was, Jesus is the way because the church says he's the way, and that's the only thing I know, and that's the only thing I'm repeating and making it want to beat everybody over the head with because this is the most important thing, but it's not. Okay. So, Katie and her light. Katie is a fabulous human. She is my niece's music teacher at the elementary. Katie is awesome with kids. I love Katie. I think we're friends. Yeah, we are friends on Facebook, but couldn't tell you when the last time we actually had a conversation was. That was probably in high school. You know, so it's that kind of connection. Friendly acquaintances. I have a whole lot of respect for her. I would not want anybody to get in the way of her having the space to believe what is working for her and in her life, because we aren't all here for the same lessons, right? So Katie has her light has been very visible as long as I have known her, you know, and I remember many times praying that I would be able to do this thing and to have that kind of light, right? But there are the light goddesses, there are the dark goddesses. I am on the dark end, she is on the light end, you know, and it goes back to, we're not all here for the same lessons. But, so yeah, I love that one. So she helps usher people through the underworld. Okay. This is my adorable little bat that I bought at Cracker Barrel. And he only has one tooth. I think that's actually an accident, because the ones that I saw online all had 2 teeth. But he doesn't, but he's adorable and I love him. So bats, since they're nocturnal, they represent the underworld, right? That's my little obsidian raven. Another little underworld creature, right? Owls, more of the nocturnal stuff, and owls. I got owls everywhere because I love owls. And hey, owls are all about wisdom. So the stuff that I've been learning has been very important on this journey. This little dude's from Germany. I thought he was adorable, so obviously I needed him. And this little elephant, which goes along with my picture on that side with the elephants. That was the one I took. Yes. You know, okay. Another thing that's important, and these are, you know, a little mythical kind of a thing, but dragons are also very important. Dragons. Okay, so I know where to start with this one. Okay, my high school mascot, or my school mascot growing up, the middle school I think was something different, but the high school and the one elementary school, as they said, it was New Palestine Dragons. So, dragon was my mascot, right? So we used to collect a lot of little dragon things because we're from New Pal. We were band people. We collected the things to support the thing, right? Oh, woo. Okay. Dragons are important. Dragons, I think, also are hugely important for my twin flame journey. Now, that the mascot was the big connection for me. Another thing, so okay, this is more stuff I can't prove until, and mind you, I am not looking anything up with the twin flames real life physical version. I'm connecting in the higher energies and seeing where we go from there. Excuse me. Okay, so one thing. Okay, I don't even know where to start on this one because there's a few different aspects of it, right? So one thing is, I am pretty sure that he is, okay, his Chinese zodiac is Year of the Dragon. Do I know this for a fact? No, but I'm pretty sure because I have this connection to dragons myself. But a couple years ago, 2020-ish, I think. 2020-ish, maybe. Okay, so 2020 and 2021 blend together a lot. And I'll be honest, I'm not sure if some of the stuff that happened was in 2020 or 2021, because that all bleeds together. But back in the days that I was on the dating apps, I had, okay, when you put your settings in and what's the biggest age gap you're willing to go, I had this moment where, I never thought really about, okay, my ex-husband was a year younger than me. My boyfriend before him was a year and a half older. And the boyfriend before that was 2 years younger. And when I was on the dating apps, I'd never really considered a bigger age gap than that. I mean, unless older, because older it just seemed like it was acceptable that way. My dad is like 8.5 years older than my mom, right? So, whatever. It seemed like older was acceptable. Younger, within a certain amount, was okay. But when I was on the dating apps trying to figure out how young I was willing to go on a match, I struggled with that, honestly, because it's like, I don't want to date somebody 10 years younger than me. No way. And I got to a point where I was like, I think I could do 5 years. I think that's where I'm tapping out on that end. So 5 years younger than me is acceptable, right? It's irrelevant. Whatever's okay for you is what's okay for you. But this is for me. So where I was willing to go was at most 5 years younger. Now, this is being, I was in my upper 30s at that point. So, yeah. There's like, that was my cutoff. Well, interestingly, my cutoff, okay, I was born in 1983, so if I were to date somebody 5 years younger, that'd be born in 1988, right? That's a Year of the Dragon. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be that because of the way it came together and because of the way it's connected to these other things. There's more beyond that, but that's going to be where I leave that. I'm just going to put a little pin in that right there so we can come to that another day when more of this information is out there. So, yes. Oh, I know. Okay. Another thing The little skulls. Well, Jack Skellington. You can't not have Jack Skellington. I love Jack Skellington. But here's my little skull with a raven. And here's my little skull creature. And another little Jack Skellington. And there's another skull. And let me just come over here to these things. Okay. Okay. Yes. Okay. Don't mind me. My little furry bones posse. They are dusty. Never mind them. Yes, I got a little Jesus thing in the back that I've had forever. It used to be in a gecko tank and now it's not. Okay, but here, skull dudes, right? So this is the first. Let's see if I can get the dust off his head. This was the first one that I got of these things. These are they're called furry bones. I love them. When we went to New Orleans for the first time, I saw this little guy, and oh my God, they had like an army of these things, right? They were everywhere, and there's so many of them. It's like, I had to have the owl, because owls are a thing. I already talked about this. So, I got my little owl dude. Next time we went, had to get another one. I don't honestly know what the second one was. You know, but... Okay, so I got a little praying mantis with dust on his head. I got a monkey back there. Got a toucan. Got this cat. Got the owl. Got the butterfly. Okay, that one I know it definitely was not. And this little section, it also was not. It could have been the little pink panda dude. But, I don't know what the second one was. Anyway, I started collecting these things. And initially, it was times that we went to New Orleans. Well, I think we went 8 times, and I ended up with 9 of them, because one, I got 2. When I went to leave, I was packing them up, and we had, like, the little, like, I don't know, the trim around the doorway stuck out enough that I could put these little dudes on them, you know, and so I had like 9 of these things up there, and going into the kitchen, and when I was packing up to move, and he finally found out about it, that last time he threw a big ass malfunction because I was packing those things up. Well, I was there too. It was my trip. I wanted it, and you know, I need to be able to keep some of those. Just being a dick kind of stuff, right? So I left 4, I think. There was a panda, a monkey, and a cat. Oh God, I forgot the birds were loose. Okay. I don't remember. I left 4 of them. Those were the 3. I think there was a dragon one, actually, Scorchy. And I will get another one of those, but I haven't replaced them yet. Anyway, so I left 4 down there, took 5. Now, when I got really irritated at the fact that I was missing some. Just because I love these little dudes. I will have a little army of these dudes, right? So, because now we're at the point where the little ice cream dude here with this little penguin, that my brother and sister-in-law got me when they were in Michigan at Frankenmuth. And these little dudes, the mermaid and the fish, my parents got for me when they went to New Orleans, right, on a bus trip with my aunt and uncle. You know, and they said, "What do you want?" And I said, "Hey, these." So, yeah. I'm gonna have, like, I already got my own little posse of them. I'll have a whole army. I will. So, it annoyed me that I had to leave some of them down there. So I did replace those. The Triceratops, the octopus. I think the butterfly's different. Oh, the cat's definitely different. Because there are 2. And this cat is not the same color as the cat that we had down there. You know, that monkey, I replaced that one. I think that one's a different one. The Triceratops is definitely different. And the octopus, I know, is different. And that one I think I did. Oh, you know what? Let me just show. Okay, so I got that one, I got this one, and I got that one. So skulls are a thing. Okay, so my phone just flashed a thing at me. I don't know what it meant. Yeah. I don't know. Are you kidding me? Okay, so at 4:24, my phone's at 42%. Yes. So these little skull dudes, I started collecting them, and I replaced the ones that I had left behind. And like I said, the cat's different, the octopus, the triceratops, and I think it was the butterfly. Those were the ones I replaced. Octopus, yes. Oh my god. Okay, I'm not there yet. Maybe I am. Okay, let me go there first. Okay, so my little octopus dude, right? Love this dude. And two from different places that are, well, one should be here probably Monday. I got these little skull dudes that have an octopus on them, and it's got like a tentacle coming out the eye or the nose or whatever. You know, I got one from this guy, I'm wanting to say he's in the South. He's got ScaryGarycreations. Badass name. Gary's funny because that's my dad and my brother's names as well. Yeah. So, ScaryGarycreations, I have the one ordered with the green octopus. The other one is kind of this like gold bronzy kind of coloring, and I found them both on Etsy, and I got like a bunch of stuff from these shops. And the one guy said, you know, they have a little bit of a rush right now, so it's gonna take a little bit longer because everything is hand painted and created at the time that you order them, so that's gonna take a little bit of time. The other ones are gonna be here like Monday, and I think she already had them done. I will share those when I got them because they're gonna be pretty badass. I'm so excited. Okay, so octopus. We also did a meditation thing in Annie's class back in, I don't know, it was like April or something maybe. And, oh no, I think June. And I think I think that one, I don't remember when it was. I think that one was just for general messages, you know, for us, the people in the class. Another day we did them, we got messages for other people. So, in the class, I had this necklace that I got in January. I was really drawn to this little flower of life symbol. Interestingly, flower of life is made up 19 circles, and it is representative of the fact that everything is created, or everything is connected. Okay, well, that's obviously important. Hey, that's like what I'm doing here, right? Okay, but anyway, I digress. So, during this meditation time, you know, I'm sitting there and I see like this little octopus dude like in front of me, but like for his head, I mean, his head's still there, but over it I see the flower of life. It's like interesting, you know. And when we were talking about it afterwards, Annie said octopus is one of your totem animals, and it means that you have your hands in a little bit of everything. It's like, well, hey, this is making sense now because I'm now seeing how I have been collecting data my entire life because I'm invested in everything, man. I got my hands in everything, and I'm trying to figure everything out and how it goes together, right? Yes. So, and that everything's connected. So, skulls. I will probably do another shorter video talking about this one, but I'll talk about it here too. Skulls. Okay, so this one's kind of interesting. So, back in 2011-ish, it was after I broke up with the one dude, and see, I had been trying to push to go back to church. We hadn't really been church attendees. His mom went to church, and I left his mom, and I was trying to go back into church, thinking that was the right way to go. And yeah, it was kind of one of our disconnections, really. But after we broke up, I don't know what my actual motivation or thinking was in doing it, but I got the tattoo of an ichthus, which is the little Jesus fish thing, on the back of my neck. And it had Jesus written in it in big blue bold letters. Or block letters. Yeah. And I got made fun of for that bitch all the way through basic training. But you know, it's one of those things where like the drill sergeant started one day and he said, and then there's Jones with the Jesus fish on her neck, and he just stops, and it's like, he obviously had no idea where to take that, because where can you take that and not get yourself in trouble, right? So, yes, because that religious freedom is kind of something. Okay, as a chaplain assistant, when I was in the military, that was our big focus, was that everybody was to be able to have rights to practice the religion that they wanted to practice without getting bullied or whatever for it. You know, you had that right. So, that was part of my role as a chaplain assistant. I can't tell if my makeup's running or what's happening. I think it was. But so I got this Jesus fish on my neck, right? And the drill sergeant tries to make fun of me for it. And I just kind of stop, because he said it, he said the thing, he got the attention on it, and then it's like, where you gonna go with that? Because you can get yourself in trouble for that, right? So, okay, the point of the Jesus fish, it was the idea, historical accuracy, I don't know. What I heard was that at a time of Christian persecution, Christians would leave the little Jesus fish thing. Something about the lettering stood for God's, Jesus Christ, God's Son, Savior, or something like that. The story I've heard. I can't confirm or deny that it's accurate or anything. I wasn't there. Well, I might have been there in another life, but who knows. Anyway, so that was the point of the fish, right? What I've been thinking, skulls. Before I get there, at a time of Christian persecution, and you could easily get killed for this thing or for having these beliefs, they would communicate by leaving the little Jesus fish. And that was how others within the society would know that they were okay there for that belief, whatever. So, this is going to be really long. I'm already at an hour and 47 minutes. Oh well, is what it is. When it's a good thing, if it's meant to go wherever it'll go it'll do what it's supposed to be doing. So, these skulls, and here's more skulls, because, hey, I love this dude. Hey, another one even. So this little guy used to be on a purse that I had, I think. But yeah, like my candle holder, I think my brother and sister-in-law got me that for my birthday one year. So anyway, skulls, and mind you, this little dude here is kind of like the whole Jesus fish. So, okay. I'm scattered, I'm sorry. This is how I am. It is getting better, but it's like organized chaos. So this book, I love this book, and one of the first things that I read in this book, he talks about how shamans are basically the ones that are, it simply means that you're awake to the fact that this is all a dream. The whole existence, yeah. So there's like something much bigger going on, and this is all just like a dream, and you can manipulate it and create what you want, however you want. But you gotta navigate all that stuff to be able to do so. Now, the skulls. The skulls. Oh, hey, the skulls. Because the lovers, I freaking love this shirt. Okay, because love tarot, love the lovers. And look, it's freaking skulls, and they love each other, okay? So, yes. Skulls. Okay. Shamans. when I was in the class, one of the last classes that I went to, Annie's class, the God Sign class, the class, how everything's connected. So she made it a point one night. She looked at me and said, if you have ever been or find yourself drawn to skulls, it's because you've been a shaman in another life. It's like, well, hey, that makes sense. That makes a whole lot of sense. And back when I was in Alabama still, I don't think I was actively working on trying to get out of there at the time that this happened. My ex had something on TV, and I happened to overhear them. They were talking about the legend of the Rainbow Warriors and how at a time when, you know, it's like a indigenous legend where at a time when the earth is dying, you know, a group of people will rise and, you know, basically to show the world another way and, you know, show, you know, love in a whole different way, you know, because the love that this world has is very, very conditional. And that is why I struggled, you know, when Katie is out there with her light and love is in her life, love was not in my life. And I had no idea what was going on and why I was so flawed that I couldn't have that kind of thing, right? So, okay, so back to that Underworld thing. You know, I'm back to my little bat dude over there. Yeah, that's not where he's going to stay, but that's just where he is right now. He's not going to go on the shelf with stuffed animals because he's just not going to. He'll probably stay on my desk. So, Underworld. This is why, okay, like Katie and her light, I mean, she's doing the thing that for people that grew up like I did, and like we did, it was, she did what everybody said was the right thing, right? She was the right kind of right. And whatever her life agreed with her, yada, 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 she had love in her life. That wasn't my experience. And for me, it's like I knew what I was experiencing was not love, you know. It is very unconditional, or no, very conditioned. Like if you do X, Y, and Z, then you're acceptable. You can stay in the family, but if you can't maintain the status quo, we're not going to claim you, kind of a thing. That's what I felt growing up. That, you know, going back to the skulls, I got them in my picture there. So I just think too, like this whole metal community, right? Music. You know, the people basically condemned to hell by the good, upstanding churchgoer types that your music is bad, so you're going to hell. Unless you stop listening to the things you're listening to, doing the things you do, and all that crap, and come to church like us. Never mind that you had, like, I'm pretty sure the BTK dude was hiding, you know, he had a family and was going to church every weekend, and yet still going out killing people. So, I digress. And never mind that whole, like, you know, the sexual scandals in the churches. Like, how many of them got those going on? You know, so the people like me who have felt completely condemned to hell, you know, we are basically navigating the underworld. You know, we're navigating all this dark, heavy shit that the others are dumping on us because they think we aren't good enough, but in reality, we have this much greater mission that we're here for. And you can tell that we are connected in some kind of way because we listen to the music with the bands that have the shirts with the skulls, and, you know, they're not afraid to talk about God and Satan and the demons and the blah, 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 and all that fun stuff, right? And, okay, how many songs are there about the freaking vultures, right? So, or not about vultures, but a line talking about vultures in there, because we are the ones that are navigating through the death of the world to bring this stuff to light. You know, so like there's, you know, I know several groups of people that, because of their own trauma from having grown up in church environments and the coercive and abusive dynamics that have existed in those situations, they don't want anything to do with it. I'm kind of one of them. Like I got the cross up there. I mean, mainly because this is a really cool cross that I got when I was in seminary, and we went on a field trip, an overnight field trip to Gethsemane, I think was what it was called. And they have monks, and it's all yay Jesus, but they also have like so much quiet time and all, like, oh, like it was an amazing place. You know, but they made the cross, that cross, it used to be black, and then I painted it, because that's what I do. Yeah, so, yeah, but like, so basically, you know, we got all these legends, you know, and I think there are different legends amongst different tribes, but when I heard this thing about the legend of the Rainbow Warriors, I was like in the room and I kind of heard it, and I just kind of stopped and I was like, that's why I'm here. That was all I knew. I knew nothing else about it. I knew that was why I'm here on this planet. Right? So it brought something into clarity for me, and it was one of those things, just kind of put a pin in it, and we'll learn more about that later. But then, hey, skulls, well, because you're not afraid of death, you know, skulls mean you've been a shaman in another lifetime. So basically, hey, we're coming together in some kind of way, and we're gonna come from the darkness. Oh. And yeah. Okay, so I will say this has been a lot more fun than some of the other videos that I have done. I very much enjoyed this latter part of this one. And I have talked about in some of my other videos that I think, you know, part of it is if you can get by the boringness of me starting out on some of these videos that I've been trying to do, it's like the good stuff is like later on in this. And I think this is entirely exactly that same thing. And because I just looked at it and I brought it in because I might want to talk about it. Okay, I mentioned a while back that that I have this lamp product. So this is the ugly ass basil green kind of color, this nasty brassy shit, and you know, it's, I don't know how to explain it. It's funky, right? I decided, you know, I brought it in. It's like, hey, I sent my mom, or I brought it in the garage, and I was like, I went and talked to my mom when she was out there one day. I was like, hey, she was like, what do you want to do with this lamp? Or I said this, and she was like, I don't know. I said, is it going to make you mad if I paint it? And she said, are you going to use it? It's like, yeah. So, yes, kindly disregard the paint on the desk. And oh, hey, look, another tiger in this. This from, that was from the people that I got the desk from. Anyway, okay, so these are my colors. Aubergine and black, and, you know, I ran out of paint when I started it. So it's kind of a little bit of a hot mess. And obviously, it's got some funky shit happening. So there's going to be a lot still to be done on this. But it's like, how fun is this? This is like, I take it from this ugly ass green color and I'm putting my own touches on it. So it's not only going to be black and aubergine, but those are the primary colors and I love them. And, you know, I feel like this, like this whole thing today is more like an orchidey berry kind of a color, but it's still kind of in the same family. And you know what? That I noticed outside, I bought this plant yesterday because it's a clearance mum. And hey, what color is that? That's damn near the same color. And oh hey, this pot over here is about the same too. So, yep. So my clearance plants, yes. And I decided I'm going to name all my plants, and that's a whole nother story for another day. Because, okay, I got these carnivorous plants that were off of Etsy, and it kind of looked, well, kind of looks like lady parts, to be honest. So two of my friends and I started talking about naming them. I guess I'm just telling the story now. I looked at the biggest plant, and it's like this big. It ain't very big. I sent my friend Roxy a message on Messenger. I said, I feel like I need to name this plant Clitora because it reminds me of lady parts. And she laughed and she threw out vulva, and it's like, okay, well, that's the thing. And then I told my friend Ben about it, and he starts throwing stuff out too. And he says labia, and he comes back with majora and minora, and it's like, look, I only got 4 of these things. I was like, all right, I can do, well, I mean, there's the big one, and she threw in 3 little starter plants. So the second largest one, I mean, it's tiny. That one's going to be vulva. And then there's the labia twins. So she said something about, she's put a little thing that said, my lady garden, whatever. It's like, so we've named all these plants, and now I feel like I need to name the rest of the plants. So yeah, that's a whole thing too. Yep, I am this weird. It's true. But I have fun, so there's that. Anyway, 2 hours is, I'm pretty confident, is my longest video yet. And I'm gonna call it here because, well, I mean, I fucking love you if you made it this far. Yes. But anyway, as always, I appreciate you, and hopefully they're all this much fun, like, going forward. We'll see. But, it is what it is. And, I'm going to do more in the house because not everybody's home all the time. And a lot of times they're in the other room way down the hallway, so I can figure this out. But, the fact that I started out and it was as terrifying as it was, and I didn't want anybody to know anything. And now it's like, I don't care if they hear me in here talking, they can think I'm on the phone. I have no problem with that. I've been for a while when I'm out there talking by the tree. It's like, you know what? Obviously, I got a video on, so maybe I'm on a video call with somebody. You don't know. It is what I want it to be, right? So here we are. Anyway, that's the whole thing. As I said already, I appreciate you, and I love you, and until the next time, bye.